Hi, Tashi Dele. My name is Tsem Rinpoche, and I'm from Ganden Monastery. And since 1996, there has been a ban against the protector deity of 400 years, Dorje Shugden. And I have received the Dorje Shugden practice from my teacher over 30 years ago. And thousands and tens and thousands of monks and nuns and lay people have also received the Dorje Shugden practice from their teachers in the last 400 years. And most of us practice Dorje Shugden for spiritual purposes, to remove obstacles to our practice, to remove outer obstacles to our practice so that we may engage in the teachings of the Buddha, learn the teachings of Buddha, meditate, practice, and transform our minds in order to become a fully enlightened Buddha. So there are many Dharma protectors, such as Sedra, such as Benden Lama, such as Mahakala, such as Kalarupa, such as Vaishavana, such as Dema, such as Dorje Shugden, such as Kinkara. There are many, many types of Dharma protectors. What Dharma protector we practice may come from the region we come from in Tibet. It may come from a particular monastery and our affiliation with it. It may come from the lineage of our gurus, or it may come from our own sort of interest and our own sort of karmic connection to a protector. So how we're given a protector in the Tibetan tradition is our guru may assign it to us, or we practice a particular protector because the monastery we belong to practice it, or the region we belong to practice it, or it is a tradition of our personal families. All Tibetans who are Buddhists will have a Dharma protector. And they acquire the Dharma protectors in the way that I have just described. Now, what has been very confusing and has created a lot of schism in Tibetan society, there are many, many issues creating a schism in Tibetan society. My father is Tibetan. My mother is Mongolian. My father is from Tibet. He is from Golok in Amdo, Tibet. My mother is from Xinjiang. So by Tibetan and Mongolian tradition, I'm Tibetan. By virtue, my father is Tibetan. That's their customs on both sides. Now, as a Tibetan, I grew up in the United States. And I went to school there. And I also learned American history and culture and the freedom of religion and the freedom of speech and the freedom of expression. That's all enshrined in the American Constitution. Now, the American Constitution doesn't envelop or doesn't cover the whole world, but democracies have similar principles. And what is enshrined in a democratic democracy, what's enshrined in democracy or democratic countries is the freedom of religion, the freedom of speech, equality. Those are heavily enshrined. For example, in America, there may be people who don't like certain religions, or they don't accept or believe in certain religious paths. They may say that this religion is bad, this religious right is not good, this religion is good, this religion is not real. They may have some kind of religious debates among the people themselves, but it's not enshrined as a law. It's not spoken about by the leaders, and it's not enforced by the law. But in Tibetan society, it's different. Tibet, over 150,000 Tibetans left Tibet in 1959, as the world knows. And I'm the result of that. I'm the result of my Tibetan government in Tibet losing their country. And as a result, we became refugees. And we had to run all over the world. And myself and many other Tibetans have lost our language and our culture. And I have relatives in Tibet that I've never ever met. But that's not my fault. That's the leadership that was not able to protect their own country. But I'm not going to get into that. What I want to talk about is the current Tibetan leadership, which is kind of overseeing 150,000 Tibetans in India and Nepal. They are called the Central Tibetan Administration, or in short, CTA. And so the Central Tibetan Administration and the CTA live in northern India in Himachal Pradesh state in a hill station town called Dharamsala. So Tibetans will refer to their government as Dasa or Dharamsala or CTA or Pershung. They can refer to any of those kind of words. So the CTA and the leaders of the CTA have had it enshrined in their constitutional charter that those who practice the religion or the spiritual path of Dorje Shugden are not allowed in Tibetan schools, are not allowed to work in Tibetan government positions, are not allowed to enter Tibetan hospitals, are not allowed to enter Tibetan associations and receive any benefits that other Tibetans are privileged, have a right to. So that has been enshrined. If you go to the CTA charter, you can see that clearly online. That is very, very, very clear. There's no doubt about that. On top of that, the Tibetan leadership are always saying that Dorje Shugden is an evil spirit, that Dorje Shugden is a negative being, and if you practice Dorje Shugden, it shortens the life of the Dalai Lama, it harms Tibet's cause, it harms the Tibetan people, which all doesn't make sense. But I've addressed that in my other live streaming tape, which you can listen to. Now, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, whom I respect very much, and I love very much, and I have a lot of respect for, I still do, has said that our Tibetan people will be democratic. So they have a democratic system in Dharamsala, supposedly, and they're supposed to elect their leaders, because for the last 400 or 500 years, there is no election of leaders. The Dalai Lama is the leader, he is the king, he is a spiritual leader, he is the king of the country, he is both secular and religious leader of Tibet, and there is no competition in any other way. So only the Dalai Lama can sit on the king's throne or on the ruler's throne. But now the Dalai Lama has said that he's passing everything over to the Tibetans to become democratic, and that's very beautiful and that's very kind of him. But what's important to remember is this, is that although in name we are democratic, in practice we have to be democratic too. Now there are many unfair practices within the Tibetan society and CTA that I know about, my friends know about, that I have experienced, that I have seen, and other Tibetans have seen, that many foreigners would not understand. But what I want to get into is the religious segregation, the religious prejudice, and the religious bias that is enshrined in the Tibetan government. Now, the Tibetan government specifically says that if you practice Dorje Shugden, that you are not allowed the privileges of other Tibetans. For example, you cannot enter the same monasteries. You cannot visit Tibetan hospitals. You cannot visit Tibetan government offices and receive the same privileges. You cannot work in the Tibetan government. All that has happened, no matter how much people deny it, there's much, much proof on that. Now, if Tibetans are to be democratic, if Tibetans are to go toward a democratic route, what religion a Tibetan practices should not matter. For example, in dalailama.com and also tibet.net, I repeat, dalailama.com and tibet.net. Tibet.net is the official website of the Tibetan government in exile, or the CTA's website, and dalailama.com is the official website of the Dalai Lama. If you look at both of those websites, they have a special section that speaks negatively about Dorje Shugden, that discourages the Dorje Shugden practice, that discourages people to practice Dorje Shugden, that basically is saying, if you practice Dorje Shugden, you are not good. Now, that's very strange, because Japan, Germany, Italy, Brazil, America, Canada, Australia, Mexico, Italy, Spain, Switzerland, Portugal, Iceland, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Cambodia, Nepal, Mongolia, Russia, etc., etc., etc. There is no democratic government that has a special section criticizing and warning you about a specific religion. They can warn you about people who are in the name of religion doing harm to the people and government. That's fair. That's fair. But to warn people against a specific religion or a spiritual path is completely undemocratic. In the United States, where I am from, the Constitution of the United States allows us freedom to worship and to gather to worship any religion we choose. Now, 200 years ago in America, if you practice witchcraft or you're suspected of witchcraft or voodoo, then there will be big issues. You'll be lynched, you'll be interrogated, you'll be tortured, you'll be drowned, you'll be beaten, and you'll probably be set on fire because witches are not allowed. But you see, this is not America 200 years ago. This is 2017 United States and the democratic world. What is happening is you can't segregate a group of people because of their religion. You may not agree with their religion. You may not agree with the tenets of their religion or the God that they worship, but you cannot enshrine, or you as a leader, secular or religious, cannot discourage a religion of another person in today's world. Because if you do that, it is political suicide, it is also undemocratic, and on top of that, you create dissension and schism among the populace. For example, imagine if a president of the United States, whatever his personal view is, it's his personal view. But imagine the president of the United States saying, anyone who practices Hinduism cannot come to my political talks, cannot come to our dinners, cannot associate with me. Who would accept that in today's world? Who would accept that? Imagine if a leader of a democratic country in their official government website has something written, has comments or advice written against a specific religion. Who in today's world would accept that? Nobody. His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, again, let me reiterate, whom I respect very much, has mentioned in his teachings that those who practice Dorje Shugden may not attend his talks, may not attend his secular talks, may not attend his peace talks, and may not attend his religious rites and rituals. I would like to go one step further and say that even today, when the Pope goes and gathers in many countries around the world, or gets together for interfaith services, or meets people of different religions, backgrounds, cultures, they never say, if you are not Catholic, or you are not a particular religion, you cannot join them. Even today, the popes do not segregate against other religions. So I think a religious leader of His Holiness's caliber should also allow all people to meet him, all people to enjoy his wisdom, all people to come and see him and to be around him. I think that's very, very important. So if you go to the Tibet.net, if you go to DalaiLama.com, you will see things written very clearly that if you practice Dorje Shugden, they advise strongly against it. I think the Tibetan government is undemocratic. And I think the Tibetan government or Tibetan Central Tibetan Administration, Central Tibetan Administration, CTA, the Tibetan leaders are wrong to place those things in their official websites because it's dated, it is antiquated, it is very, very colonial. On top of that, it's not democratic. If you want to be democratic, you must practice democracy all the way. You don't cherry pick. You don't pick what you like, and what you don't like, you don't enshrine. If you're going to call yourself democratic, and based on you being democratic, you receive funds, aid, help, assistance from democratic countries because you enshrine democracy, then you must practice democracy all the way. How can you practice democracy when in your own websites, DalaiLama.com, Tibet.net, you have advice against one particular religion. Be it Dorje Shugden is a devil. Be it Dorje Shugden is an angel. Be it Dorje Shugden is a non-existent God, just an idol. Be it he's a Buddha. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether Dorje Shugden is a Buddha, is a devil, is a demon, is a God, is a fake. It doesn't matter. But what matters is the people who believe in Dorje Shugden are people. The people who believe and practice Dorje Shugden are people with flesh and blood and feelings, and have a right to equality, have a right to what every other human being deserves on this planet. So it doesn't matter if these people practice Dorje Shugden. It doesn't matter if these people practice Catholicism, if they practice Hinduism, Judaism, Voodoo, if they practice Druid, if they practice witchcraft, magic. It doesn't matter, because deep down inside, they're people. And if they're people and they're under a democratic rule, they should be accorded the respect of any other human being. And respect of any other human being. They should be accorded the respect of any other human being, regardless of what religion they practice. A democratic government shouldn't debate whether Dorje Shugden is a god or a spirit or is good or is bad. It doesn't matter, because Tibetans are not in Tibet anymore, and Tibetans are scattered around the world. And they will be exposed to many religions. They'll be exposed to many paths. Some Tibetans have become atheists. Some Tibetans have converted to other religions. Some Tibetans have become Buddhists. Some Tibetans are Muslims. It doesn't matter. Some Tibetans practice Dorje Shugden. Some Tibetans are Christians. It doesn't matter what they are. A Tibetan is a Tibetan, and under the Tibetan rule, under the Tibetan leaders, they should be treated equally, irregardless of what religion they are. If you are a Dorje Shugden practitioner, you should not be spat upon. If you are a Dorje Shugden practitioner, you should not be segregated or have things written in your official government's website that speak against your religion and encourage other people to ostracize you, to segregate you, to hate you. That should not be the case. So, imagine if the Prime Minister of Canada says, all Christians except Catholics can join and come to my political rallies, can come to my political talks, can come to my talks. What kind of uproar would that create in Canada, around the world? If that creates an uproar in democratic Canada, why wouldn't something like this create an uproar in so-called democratic Tibetan society? So Tibetan society is definitely democratic, then all talk against Dorje Shugden must cease immediately. All material against Dorje Shugden on official websites should be removed immediately. All advice, inverted commas, advice against Dorje Shugden practice should cease immediately. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Tibetan leaders should never speak against Dorje Shugden, should never say anything against Dorje Shugden, because the Dalai Lama is not only a spiritual leader, he is definitely a political leader. He is the face of Tibet. So the face of Tibet should not be, everyone can come to my talk. Everyone is under my compassion. I love everyone except Dorje Shugden people. That's not right. I repeat. The Dalai Lama is a spiritual leader. He is also a secular leader. And under the Dalai Lama's powerful, innovative, compassionate leadership, the Dalai Lama, His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, should accept all people, all Tibetans, no matter where they come from, who they are, and what religion they practice. Does it befit a man of the Dalai Lama's stature? Does it befit the compassion of such a great monk, the Dalai Lama, to say, everyone may come to my teachings, everyone is loved by me, everyone is accepted by me, except the Dorje Shugden people? Definitely not. The job of a Buddhist monk is to love all beings, regardless of who they are and how naughty they might be or how good they might be. The job of a democratic leader is to gather his people together and to unite his people and bring his people as one, regardless of gender, age, color, race, economic background, sexual orientation, and religion. Any democratic country will unite their people, regardless of all I have just mentioned, religion, race, sexual orientation, because we are living in the age of enlightenment. We are living in the age where we realize everyone is the same. What religion we practice is not the issue anymore. You cannot say that person practices Dorje Shugden, therefore I don't like them. That person practices Dorje Shugden, therefore I won't associate with them. That they deserve to be spat upon. That they cannot come for the Dalai Lama's teachings. How come a Dorje Shugden person cannot go to the Dalai Lama's teachings? How come? They have been attending the Dalai Lama's teachings up till 1996. I have attended many of the Dalai Lama's teachings. I certainly do not intend any harm to the Dalai Lama. I certainly do not have any ill wishes toward the Dalai Lama. I certainly do not have any bad thoughts about the Dalai Lama. I have attended Dalai Lama's teachings so many times up till 1996. Because what happened in 1996? Suddenly in 1996, in the CTA's charter, in the CTA's ruling, in the CTA's constitution, all those who practice Dorje Shugden may not attend the Dalai Lama's talks, may not go to Tibetan hospitals, may not work in the Tibetan government. Suddenly that ruling came. But you have to remember, before that I was already practicing Dorje Shugden for decades. Then suddenly I'm not able to. That confused many people. Now, to make a long story short, any leader in any country should look at his or her people and think how to unite the people, how to improve their economic situation, how to improve their social situation, how to better their lives, give more education, and to give opportunities and betterment. That's what every single leader should do, whether they're religious or not. If a religious leader says, everyone can come to my teachings, everyone can come to my talk, everyone can come to my gatherings, except this group, then that's not very compassionate, nor is it democratic. It doesn't befit a spiritual leader. It doesn't befit a democratic leader. It doesn't fit any leader of today. So I would gently and respectfully request the Tibetan leadership to remove all their information against Dorje Shugden practice, Dorje Shugden lineage, and Dorje Shugden people on their websites, tibet.net and dalalama.com. I repeat, tibet.net and dalalama.com. They should remove all of that. And they should stop segregating and creating dissension among their own people. Number one. Number two, they should say, whether you practice Dorje Shugden or whether you're a Dorje Shugden Tibetan, you're a Muslim Tibetan, you're a Pempo Tibetan, you're a Nyingma Tibetan, Kagyu Tibetan, you're a Gelug Tibetan, you're a Sakya Tibetan, whether you're a black Tibetan, you're a white Tibetan, a girl Tibetan, a boy Tibetan, whatever Tibetan you are welcome by your leader, the Dalai Lama. He loves you. And you are welcome to his talks, and you're welcome to get his blessings. That's what the Tibetan leadership should say, and I'm waiting for that. So if the Tibetan leadership really wants to be democratic, this is how democracy is. This is how democracy operates. This is how democracy really should be. Please don't look at me for what religion I practice, but look at me because I am a human being and I deserve respect, as do everyone else. Please look at me as a Tibetan, and as a Tibetan who is proud of his ancestry. Please accept me as I am. Tibetan leadership has also said that Dorje Shugden people are connected to China, that they're being paid by the Chinese government to create schism within the Tibetan communities, that they are traitors to the Tibetan nation, that they are basically spies for the Chinese nation. I beg to differ. I have never received any money from the Chinese government. I have never spied for the Chinese government or any government. I have never ever done any government work for any government. And on top of that, they say that Dorje Shugden people, some of them wish to harm the Dalai Lama. Well, I don't wish to harm the Dalai Lama. I have no intention of harming the Dalai Lama because I love him. Now, my solution for all this, for this Tibetan democratic government, CTA in Dharamsala, is that they immediately remove all writings from Tibetan.net, Tibet.net, and DalaiLama.com that refers negatively to Dorje Shugden. None of their official websites as a government or democratic government to be should contain any prejudice against anyone in regards to religion, race, and background. That should be removed if they're genuinely going to be democratic. Number two, they should allow all Tibetans to become employees of the Tibetan government or different sectors in Tibetan society on the basis of merit and education and not religion. Because Tibetan Dorje Shugden practitioners cannot work for the CTA or cannot work in Tibetan hospitals and schools if they practice Dorje Shugden. That should be removed immediately. They should be able to apply for a job and get it on the basis of merit and qualification, not religion. On top of that, the monasteries that have been split apart. Gandhin has been split apart. Over 700 monks have left Gandhin Monastery because of the Dorje Shugden issue, because His Holiness has asked them to leave. And it's taped in Drepung Monastery of him saying that. All the monasteries should unite. All the monks should unite as before, because we all believe in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And all segregation against Tibetan Dorje Shugden practitioners that was started by the CTA should stop. For example, an effective sweeping order should be given by the Tibetan CTA to all Tibetans that signages on restaurants, hospitals, clinics, stores, coffee shops that say, if you practice Dorje Shugden, you are not allowed within these premises. That should be removed. That should definitely be removed, because why are you not allowing a certain service based on someone's religion? That is not correct. And then, if they are worried about the Dalai Lama's safety, that they think that some Dorje Shugden practitioners are connected to China and they want to harm the Dalai Lama, if they're worried about that, they should be worried about all sectors of Tibetans. I'm sure there are Tibetan people, there are some Tibetan people who don't like the Dalai Lama, who want to harm him, but it shouldn't be just confined to one group. Now, if they should allow Dorje Shugden practitioners to attend the Dalai Lama's talks, attend the Dalai Lama's gatherings. They should allow that because he is our leader. And we have a right to hear what he wants to say and what he wishes to share. We have that right. We earned it by being Tibetan. We didn't harm him. He's our leader. I mean, since we are Tibetan and he's our leader, automatically, then please lead us. How do you lead us? By example. What's the example? Compassion, acceptance, tolerance. So, if they really have doubts about certain Dorje Shugden people who they think might harm the Dalai Lama, please do a security check. Check their background. Check if they have any association. Check with the police. Check with the, I don't know, FBI, CIA, or whoever they're connected to. Check. You can check my background as much as you want. I have no criminal records. I have no records of working for any government or nothing. I am just a Buddhist monk. So if they're worried about certain Dorje Shugden people who harm the Dalai Lama, do a full security check. People often do that. And if they check that person comes clean, then stop accusing them of being something that they are not. So what the Tibetan government should immediately do, the Tibetan exile government, CTA, should immediately do is to unite the people, remove any references regarding Dorje Shugden. Why? Because it makes them not democratic. And if you wish to be democratic, then act as if you are democratic. Be democratic and govern and rule and take care of your people in a democratic manner. Otherwise, don't tell people you're democratic and on that basis receive a lot of aid from the West. Finally, Your Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, I, and tens and thousands of us who practice Dorje Shugden loved you prior to the ban against Dorje Shugden in 1996 and still love you now. We respect you, I respect you, I love you, and we all love you and we care about you. We wish no harm towards your person in any way, shape, or form. Since 1996, we're not allowed to attend any of your teachings, any of your gatherings, any of your secular talks. Even secular talks were not allowed. And it hurts very, very much. Please allow us to meet you. Please allow us to join your talks. Please allow all people, irregardless of their religion, even if they practice Dorje Shugden, to join your talks. I myself do not wish you any harm or any negative energy or thinking towards your direction, but I am appealing to you to unite your people, unite all of us religiously. We're all Buddhists. We're all one. I have received many teachings from you, and I have received many teachings from my root Lama. I will continue practicing Dorje Shugden, Your Holiness. I will continue practicing Dorje Shugden, Your Holiness, not to defy you, not to go against you, not to hurt you, and not to be in conflict with you. I am practicing Dorje Shugden because my root guru gave me this practice, and I cannot stop this practice because I have promised him to do so. Your Holiness, please understand that. Please understand there are thousands and thousands of us Tibetans who love you, who miss you, and who are practicing Dorje Shugden as a commitment to our Lama and not to contradict you. Please unite us. Please allow us in your teachings. Please allow us to meet you and pay respects to you. Thank you very much.